Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pastyatya Adesha Tarane Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vanchikalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. So, welcome devotees to our Nectar of Instruction seminar. And we are this evening beginning verse 3 of Nectar of Instruction. Yes, a very important and very positive verse. Verse 2 was warning us, watch out, be careful, don't be a nonsense. It's very important. It's very important. But this is more enlivening. So let's read verse 3 then. Utsahan nischaya daryat tat karma pravartanat sangatyagat satovrite sadbir bhakti prasidyati. Translation. There are 6 principles favorable to the execution of pure devotional service. 1, being enthusiastic. 2, endeavoring with confidence. 3, being patient. 4, acting according to regulative principles, such as Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam. From Srimad Bhagavatam 5:23. Hearing, chanting, and remembering Krishna. Number 5, abandoning the association of non-devotees. And 6, following in the footsteps of previous acharyas. These 6 principles undoubtedly assure the complete success of pure devotional service. Well, yes, this is just really, what a wonderful verse. It is just wonderful. Okay, so let's start going through the purport and trying to analyze things a bit and just see where we're going, how to take all this, how to apply all this. It's there are some things we need to learn, things that will help us in our Krishna consciousness. So, if you're in our PDF, downloadable from Facebook, I don't know if you are, but if you are, we're basically at the top of page 15. Anyway, we're beginning the purport. So, Srila Prabhupada, right at the beginning of the purport, makes what is in principle an extremely important point in a broad and general sense, that devotional service is practical activity. It's not just an emotional state or some sentimental sort of speculation, some ideas, from the idea factory of the mind. No, it's very scientific. practical process of action, of doing things, cultivating, in fact, a whole way of life. A whole way of life, from morning to night. Yes. Not, as is the case, at least many people think that is the case with religion, that religion means that's what I do on Sunday morning, maybe. Or if you're a Muslim, that's what I do on Friday. Or, just at some particular time, I practice my religion for a little while, every so often. But then I go back to my normal life. And in my normal life, well, religion doesn't really figure so much. But actually Krishna consciousness, real religion, Sanatana Dharma, it's a whole way of life, from morning till night. And then at night, Prabhupada said, if you read the Krishna book just before you take rest, just before you go to sleep, then you may dream of Krishna. Yes. So actually, it's 24 hours. It's not just morning to night. We can dream of Krishna, dream for Krishna. Yeah. So it's not just sitting down, philosophizing some ideas, or just trying to see how will I get some emotional experience? What do I have to do to get some emotional experience? It's a whole way of life, and it is meant to involve every aspect and activity in your life, including, as we've discussed last few days, including your work also. Yeah, it may be a little tricky sometimes, but it's meant to include your work also. So now, in order to sort of define this and really give some clarification, what is involved when we're trying to cultivate pure devotional service? What is our program? So Srila Prabhupada quotes famous verse, such a famous verse. It's actually from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Srila Rupa Goswami. And it appears in Chaitanya Charitamrita. It appears in Chaitanya Charitamrita. And it is it's what is called the Paribhas Sutra of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, of Nectar of Devotion. Paribhas Sutra means that verse which clearly defines the subject matter of the whole book, whatever the book may be. You have a book about this, a book about that. So at least traditionally in Vedic culture, then you'll find in the beginning, in the earlier parts at least of the book, one verse which will be the Paribhas Sutra, which will very precisely and clearly, but in just one verse, clarify what is this book? What is the subject matter? What's the book about? So this is the Paribhas Sutra of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, because the subject matter of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu is pure devotional service. And this verse is defining what is pure devotional service. When we use the term pure devotional service, What are we referring to? What does it look like? Just as an incidental point, but it's also an extremely important point, Srimad Bhagavatam also has a Paribhas Sutra, a one verse which defines what is Srimad Bhagavatam all about. This is clarified by Srila Jiva Goswami in his Bhakti Sandarbha. So that verse in Srimad Bhagavatam is 1:3:28. Ete changsa kalapumsa Krishna stu Bhagavan Swayam Indrari Vyakalam Lokam Mridayanti Yuge Yuge. That there are many forms of the Lord, expansions, partial expansions, parts of parts, but Krishna is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. In other words, from whom all the other forms have come and upon whom they depend. And the verse goes on that all these different forms descend into this world when the demons are causing trouble. Yes, the Lord descends to protect and help his devotees. Anyway, that's just by the way. But here now, in Nectar of Instruction, Srila Prabhupada quotes this very important and very definitive verse. What is pure devotional service? So here it is. Oh, actually, it's in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1:111. It's 1:111 in the text of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And yavilashita shunyam jnana karma jnanavritam anukulyena krishnanu shilanam bhaktir uttama. And Prabhupada gives a translation here. Let's read the translation. Just a sec. That Uttama Bhakti, or unalloyed devotion, pure devotion, unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead Sri Krishna, involves the rendering of devotional service in a way that is favorable to the Lord. This devotional service should be free from any extraneous motive and devoid of fruit of karma, impersonal jnana, and all other selfish desires. So let's just clarify a little bit here, just what the verse is saying. You know, we're not doing a Nectar of Devotion seminar, so we won't go into it in detail. But basically, here Rupa Goswami has given a number of things, first of all, things which must not be there if your devotional service is to be considered pure. They are impurities. So if you want to do pure devotional service, those things are out. And then, secondly, he explains certain things which must be there if your devotional service is to be considered pure. In other words, you could do impure devotional service, of course, mixed devotional service. Lord Kapila Dev in Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, describes the devotional service of a devotee who's in ignorance, then a devotee who's in passion, then a devotee who's in goodness. Yeah, but here we're talking about Uttama Bhakti, the verse says, pure devotional service. So first of all, there must not be jnana or karma, these two things. Jnana in this context means impersonal philosophical speculations. Karma means materialistic religiosity. uh, doing some karma kandya type of sacrifice if you're following a Vedic tradition, or just praying to God for money. Yeah. That this is karma. It means that it's religion, but it's materialistic for some material goal. So no jnana, no karma, and no anya abhilash. It's a kind of, interesting term. No any other desire except for serving Krishna. Anya meaning other, and abhilash meaning desire. Yeah. Maybe you remember night before last, right towards the end, we talked about that incident with Prabhupada and Krishnadas Babaji from Govinda Maharaj. And Prabhupada 3 times quoted Narottam Das Thakur to the devotees. Tandara charana sevi, bhakta sanevas, janame hoy, a abhilash. A meaning only, and abhilash, desire. So in our definition here of pure devotional service, anya abhilash, any other desire, must be shunya. Shunya is Sanskrit and even Hindi actually for zero. Zero. Yeah. So jnana, impersonal speculations, must be zero. Karma, materialistic religion, must be zero. And any other type of non-Krishna conscious idea must be zero. So these things, these are negative considerations. None of this. And then the positive considerations, anukulyena, means positive. Must be positive, meaning favorable to Krishna, which means 2 things actually. First of all, your attitude must be favorable to Krishna. Not that you're serving Krishna in some unhappy mood, oh, I don't want to do this, but I have to do it. Then it can't be pure devotional service because your attitude is not favorable. But then it must also actually please Krishna. Even if you're doing something in a very, some sort of very devotional mood, oh my Lord. But it's something which doesn't please Krishna, then that means that what you're doing cannot be pure devotional service. It's some mixture. And there's an interesting example we give. It comes from His Holiness Giriraj Swami, actually, when he was preaching in Mumbai, many years ago, that he went to visit some business person in Mumbai to enroll him as a life member and distribute some books and get some donation like this. And the businessman was extremely nice. So favorable. Oh, welcome, welcome. Please sit down. Hare Krishna, I'm so happy you've come to visit me. Would you like anything? Can I give a donation? May I donate something? This is very favorable attitude. So then, right at that moment, the gentleman's secretary walked in with a cup of tea. And it wasn't herbal tea. It was not rooibos tea. It was not Ivan chai or something. It was tea. Tea. And the man pulled out a silver, like a small silver box that you could fit in your pocket, and opened it. And with a teaspoon took out some contents, which were like little green leaf type things, and put that in the tea. And he said, this is tulsi. Whenever I have tea, I must put tulsi in it, because tulsi is so dear to Krishna. So, drinking tea is not favorable. Krishna does not like tea. Yeah. I understand sometimes there are devotees who drink tea. But you should know, if you're doing that, you're doing something which Krishna doesn't appreciate. I'll tell you another. Well, anyway, the point is that his attitude's so nice, so favorable, but the activity is not pleasing to Krishna. It's kind of offensive, actually. I'll tell you another story, though, from Prabhupada. It's exactly in this regard. Prabhupada had a friend named Bhagatji in Vrindavan, who actually donated the land for the Krishna Balaram temple, or part of the land at least, or maybe all, but at least part. So he was a very nice devotee. Bhagatji was a very nice devotee. But he had a problem. He was addicted to tea. Couldn't stop, somehow. So one day Prabhupada went to visit him. And Prabhupada just walked in sort of unannounced. And there was Bhagatji drinking a cup of tea. And Prabhupada walks in and says, is that herbal tea? And Bhagatji said, no, it's tea. And he explained, I can't stop. And Prabhupada said, don't worry, when you go back to Godhead, Krishna will have a special place for you and a special arrangement so you can drink some tea. Anyway, all right. So favorableness in two senses has to be there. That the attitude, your attitude is favorable, and that it is pleasing to Krishna. Then it may be pure devotional service. Then Krishna, it must be for Krishna. Or his expansions, Lord Narayan, Sitaram, or like that. Or the devotees also. This is what is implied by Krishna. In other words, you cannot do pure devotional service for a demigod. Lord Shiva, Durga, etc. Or for your country, or your family, or like that. Must be for Krishna. Or those connected to him, as we mentioned. And then, third thing that must be there is anushilanam. It must be an ongoing, unbroken activity in order to be pure devotional service. Not that you do it for a little while, then you do something materialistic, and then you do some devotional service again, and then you do something materialistic, you understand. Then it cannot be pure devotional service. It has to be ongoing, unbroken. Then it can be pure devotional service. Okay, so that's just a brief analysis of that verse. Let's go on now a little deeper into the purport. We're still there on that page 15. Let's see. So Prabhupada gives his own analysis of what this means. Let me just read it. It's just right there in that the next paragraph after the translation of the Anyabhilashita Shunyam verse. So Prabhupada says, devotional service is a cultivation. Cultivation of spirituality does not mean sitting down idly for meditation, as some pseudo-yogis teach. Such idle meditation may be good for those who have no information of devotional service, and for this reason it is sometimes recommended as a way to check distracting materialistic activities. Meditation means stopping all nonsensical activities, at least for the time being. Devotional service, however, now Prabhupada's now contrasting devotional service, pure devotional service, with this meditation business which he's just been talking about up to this point. Devotional service, however, not only puts an end to all nonsensical, mundane activities, but also engages one in meaningful devotional activities. Yes. So in other words, so then Prabhupada quotes Prahlad Maharaj. Prabhupada quotes Prahlad Maharaj, and this is another famous verse. Srimad Bhagavatam 7.5.23. What a famous verse. Because this is really, the Anyabhilashita Shunyam verse we just went through is giving a definition what is pure devotional service. But now Prahlad Maharaj from Srimad Bhagavatam is explaining the practical program, what you actually do, the different specific activities you perform when you are rendering pure devotional service. Yes, so there we are. Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, Smaranam Padasevanam, Archanam Vandanam Dasyam Sakyam Atma Nivedanam. So, hearing the name and glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. 2, chanting his glories. 3, remembering the Lord. 4, serving the Lord. 5, worshipping the deity. 6, offering obeisances to the Lord. Offering obeisances. Well, elsewhere Prabhupada translates that as prayer. And even in a more general sense, the term vandanam is usually used for prayer. But offering obeisances also is part of prayer. It involves praying. Because when you bow down, offering obeisances, it's not just a physical thing. You must repeat some mantra or mantras, some prayers. Okay. 7, acting as the Lord's servant. 8, making friends with the Lord. And 9, surrendering oneself fully to the Lord. Yes, so this is the practical program. Beyond just the principles, the good things and the bad things in a general sense. But this is the practical program. So Srila Prabhupada, let's have a look at what Srila Prabhupada says here. That, well, he doesn't analyze the whole list of 9. Plus there's a 10th also, which is doing everything, all of them together. But he doesn't go into some type of analysis, but rather he makes the point that Shravanam is the first step in acquiring transcendental knowledge and really in rendering pure devotional service or becoming a devotee. Without hearing a person becoming a devotee, well, it cannot be very solid. Hearing is just really foundational to real devotional service, and particularly pure devotional service. I mean, we could just mention one or two points. That first of all you hear, then you are able to chant. Without hearing, you won't have anything to chant. So there's a sequence. Hearing leads to chanting. And when you're hearing and chanting, then you're able to remember. If you haven't heard of something or someone, how are you going to remember that person or that thing? Obviously, it's out of the question. You have to hear first, but when you hear and chant, then it solidifies things even more. And so remembering becomes easy, yes, and natural. And then when you're hearing and chanting and remembering, then you get the inspiration. Oh, my Lord is so wonderful. What must I do? I must serve him. I must serve him. So then you may serve his lotus feet. It's interesting, there's a distinction made in the list of 9 between serving the lotus feet and just serving. Serving the lotus feet obviously means that it's more intimate. Lakshmi Devi serves the Lord's lotus feet. We, as practitioners and neophytes, we render devotional service. We're certainly not engaged like Lakshmi in actually massaging the lotus feet of the Lord. Mm-hmm. And then when you've been engaged in service, then you'll become inspired to do some formal worship. And while you're doing formal worship, you bow down, offer obeisances, and while you're doing formal worship, you definitely offer prayers. It's part of the process. And then you render general service. And then, of course, making friends with the Lord. It doesn't just mean having like a favorable attitude, but it actually means, this is more for those engaged in Raganuga sadhana bhakti. In fact, it is specifically for them, where they become involved in a more intimate and direct personal relationship with the Lord in Vrindavan. So, of course, we must have favorable attitude towards the Lord, but that's not the same as what the 8th one is really talking about. And then number 9, surrendering yourself fully. Whatever the Lord wants, here I am. I will do it. It is simply my life. My life is simply there for the Lord, for his service. So then the question, Prabhupada's introducing these things step by step. First of all, the principles. What makes up, what devotional service could be considered pure? And then the component activities, specific program. What am I going to do from moment to moment in practical activity? Now, Srila Prabhupada goes on to how are you going to do it nicely? How are you going to learn how to do it nicely? And how are you going to learn to avoid undesirable things? Making some mistakes and, offering something, for example, undesirable to Krishna, and even though your mood was good, but you make an offense. So how are we going to do that? Well, we must read the books, of course, but it's not quite as simple as just reading the books. We need a teacher. we need a spiritual master. So this is what Prabhupada goes on to next. One should not give oral reception to unauthorized persons who will mislead you, but one should approach the proper person, bona fide spiritual master, as recommended in Bhagavad Gita 4.34. We all know Bhagavad Gita 4.34. Anyway, let's just read it. Tadvadi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattva darshanaha. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized souls can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. What a powerful verse. What a foundational verse in Krishna consciousness. So you see how Prabhupada is presenting things so far in the purport here. It's really systematic. In English, we have there is a saying in regard to boxing, the sport where people punch each other. Boxing, it's a 1-2 punch, not just one punch, but one punch which then leads into the next punch, and then the idea is you knock out your opponent. So it's systematic. It's not just two independent punches, but it's actually an organized program. So Prabhupada he's presenting here in the form of an organized program. We're talking about pure devotional service, and that's the goal of life. That's Krishna consciousness. What more is there? There's nothing more. That's it. The totality of Krishna consciousness. So we got to get it right. We got to get it right. And this verse, of course, is talking about pure devotional service. And if you do things in this way, as described by Rupa Goswami in the verse, then you'll perfect your life. So Prabhupada does go on a little further. He does go on a little further. First we had Anyabhyalashita Shunyam, the principles. Then we had the Prahlad Maharaj, the practical activities. Now we've got how to get the direction, how to actually be facilitated and not mess it up. So now Prabhupada goes on further. In the next, paragraph or so, in fact, it's going over, at least in our PDF, if we look at our PDF, it's going over onto, where are we? My gosh. We're going into page 17 in Prabhupada's final sort of initial, this is Prabhupada's initial summary, what we're talking about. Or this is Prabhupada's introduction before he starts going into each of the 6 points. So Prabhupada quotes, it is, it's Mundaka Upanishad, I think, originally. But anyway, it's quoted in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Oh no, it's Mundaka Upanishad, yeah. Tadvigyanatam sagurum gurum evabhigachet. It's not, well, it is quoted actually in Chaitanya Charitamrita. To understand that transcendental science, one must approach a bona fide spiritual master. So Prabhupada's just emphasizing he's emphasizing this point of tadvidi pranipatina. You must. It's not a do-it-yourself process. You don't just go to the bookshop, buy the book, and just put it together, and then you get the result, pure devotional service. It's not like that. You have to have a teacher, and the teacher has to be the proper teacher, bona fide, spiritual master. So again, emphasizing the Mundaka Upanishad. And then Prabhupada quotes Chaitanya Charitamrita, Lord Chaitanya. The point kind of switches now to, Prabhupada is switching to the point that it's very special. It's very special to get this opportunity for devotional service, for meeting a spiritual master. It's very, very special. So, famous Chaitanya Charitamrita verse, Brahmanda Brahmate Kuna Bhagavan Jeev, Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Bij. In the course of traversing the universal creation of Brahma, some fortunate soul may receive the seed of Bhakti Lata, the creeper of devotional service. This is all by the grace of Guru and Krishna. It's Madhya Leela 19:151. Anyway, that's one translation, and it's coming from Prabhupada, so of course it's valid. Elsewhere we do find a little more detailed translations. And even Prabhupada does elaborate further in the same paragraph here. The basic idea is Brahmanda Brahmate. Brahmate, well, Brahmanda means the universe. Brahmate means to wander. But wander in a specific sense. Like you could wander down to the shops. Means you know where the shops are. You just sort of slowly make your way there. If you're in Mayapur, you could wander over to the temple room for the morning program. Just slowly make your way. But Brahmate, the idea of Brahmate is you don't know where you're going. You're lost. You're just aimlessly going this way or that way or another way. And then you may just turn around and who knows where you're going, you don't know. So like this, the living entity, Jiva, us, has been wandering in this material world for an awfully long time, who knows how long. But then, Bhagyavanji, then that wandering, lost Jiva becomes fortunate, Bhagyavan, because he meets the devotees. And through the devotees, he meets a guru. So, and then by the combined mercy of the Guru and Krishna, he receives the seed of devotional service and becomes a devotee, in other words. So, a very important point is about the good fortune. What is that Bhagyavan? What is that good fortune? Is it just, chance, accident, just somehow or other? No cause, nothing behind it. Not really. By the grace of Krishna, when Krishna sees someone is becoming sincere enough, he leads them to, somehow he arranges some meeting. They meet with devotees. And then through the devotees, they meet the spiritual master. And then, as it's all going on, Krishna's giving more mercy. So by that combined mercy of Guru and Krishna and devotees, then the person gets the seed of devotional service, meaning like the impetus, yes, I'll become a devotee, and they become a devotee. So Srila Prabhupada concludes the introduction, it's like introductory section of the purport. Next paragraph, he's going to go into the first specific point, which is enthusiasm. But he finishes the introductory section here. Let me just read what he says. The International Society for Krishna Consciousness is giving such a chance to humanity at large. If by fortune one takes advantage of this opportunity to engage, where are we? Yeah. To engage in devotional service, the path of liberation immediately opens. Yeah. So that's Prabhupada formed ISKCON to facilitate people hearing from authorized devotees, you could say, in one sense. That's definitely true. But in a general sense, meeting devotees, getting the association of devotees, getting the association of a bona fide spiritual master, and then getting regularly engaged in devotional service. This is what ISKCON's all about. So there you go, devotees. We've covered the introduction. Tomorrow night we'll carry on. Prabhupada in the next paragraph talks about enthusiasm, and then he goes on gradually to analyze all the other of the 6 activities which were stated there in the verse. So I hope you found it interesting. By Prabhupada's mercy, clarification comes. It's really amazing. Prabhupada's such an amazing person. So anyway, thank you all very much for your participation. We hope to see you all tomorrow evening. For the time being, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Hare Krishna.